Your smartphone contains 3 billion transistors, each smaller than a virus. But 2,000 years ago, someone on a Greek island built a mechanical computer from bronze gears that tracked the motion of the sun, the moon, and 5 planets with an accuracy that would not be matched for another 1,400 years. And we still don't fully understand how they did it. We assume that technology moves in a straight line, that every century is smarter than the last. That progress only goes forward. The facts say otherwise. Across 5 different civilizations, separated by thousands of years and thousands of kilometers, engineers created materials, machines, and weapons so advanced that modern laboratories, with electron microscopes, supercomputers, and billion-dollar research budgets, still cannot produce exact replicas. Today, we'll examine 5 ancient inventions that, by every law of physics and metallurgy, should not exist, and discover why, despite centuries of trying, the modern world still can't figure out how they were made. Let's start with the one that was pulled from the bottom of the Aegean Sea and mistaken for a lump of corroded rock. 1. The Antikythera mechanism. The world's first computer. In the spring of 1901, a group of Greek sponge divers was sheltering from a storm near the tiny island of Antikythera, wedged between Crete and the Peloponnese. When the storm passed, one diver descended to check the seabed and surfaced screaming about a pile of dead bodies on the ocean floor. What he had found was a Roman shipwreck from the 1st century BC, filled with bronze statues, marble sculptures, and luxury goods being transported from the eastern Mediterranean to Rome. Among the cargo was a lump of corroded bronze the size of a shoebox. Nobody paid it any attention. It sat in a drawer at the National Archaeological Museum in Athens for over half a century. Then, in 1959, British physicist Derek de Solla Price subjected the lump to X-ray analysis, and the world of archaeology changed forever. Inside the corroded shell were at least 37 interlocking bronze gears, arranged with a precision that should not have existed in the ancient world. This was the Antikythera mechanism, the oldest known analog computer on Earth. The device tracked the cycles of the sun and moon, predicted solar and lunar eclipses, calculated the positions of the 5 planets known to the ancients, and even marked the dates of the Olympic Games. It used a differential gear system, a mechanical solution so sophisticated that it would not be reinvented in Europe until the 16th century. The teeth of the gears follow involute curves, a mathematical profile that watchmakers would not formally describe until the 1700s. In 2005, a team led by astronomer Mike Edmonds used micro-CT scanning to reveal over 3,500 characters of Greek text inscribed on the mechanism's surfaces, essentially an instruction manual cast in bronze. The inscriptions described how to operate the device, what each dial displayed, and how to interpret the outputs. Think about that. Someone built a portable astronomical computer with a user manual 2,000 years before the first pocket calculator. Here's what makes the Antikythera mechanism truly disturbing to historians. Nothing remotely comparable appears in the archaeological record for the next 1,400 years. It exists in complete isolation. A technology that emerged, functioned, and then vanished from human knowledge as though it had never existed at all. Write in the comments what year you were born. I'm always curious what generation finds these stories. 2. Damascus steel, nanotechnology before the word existed. If you like stories like this, subscribe to the channel. Because the next invention involves nanotechnology, achieved 1,000 years before we invented the word. In the medieval world, there was one blade that every warrior feared and every king desired. Damascus steel swords could cut a silk scarf floating through the air. They could slice through European broadswords, chip stone, and still shave hair from the back of a hand. The blades displayed a distinctive wavy surface pattern like flowing water frozen in metal. Arab swordsmiths called it the watered pattern. Europeans called it magic. The steel originated as Wootz ingots, smelted in crucibles in southern India and Sri Lanka, then shipped to Damascus, Syria, where master smiths forged them into blades through a carefully guarded process of heating, folding, and quenching. The exact technique was passed from father to son, and the recipe was never written down. Then, around 1750, the blades stopped appearing. The specific ore deposits in India that contained the precise combination of trace elements, vanadium, molybdenum, chromium, manganese, were exhausted. Without the right raw material, even the most skilled smiths could not reproduce the steel. The technology died with the mines. For 250 years, metallurgists tried and failed to recreate Damascus steel. Then, in 2006, Peter Poffler at the Technical University of Dresden put a Damascus blade under an electron microscope and discovered something that should not have been there. The steel contained carbon nanotubes and cementite nanowires, nanostructures, the same kind of technology that modern laboratories produce using precisely controlled chemical vapor deposition in billion-dollar clean rooms. Medieval blacksmiths, working with nothing but fire, hammers, and intuition, had accidentally achieved nanotechnology. The specific combination of trace elements in the Indian ore, combined with the thermal cycling of the forging process, created conditions for carbon atoms to self-assemble into tubular nanostructures. This is what gave the blades their legendary hardness and flexibility simultaneously, a combination that modern metallurgy still struggles to achieve in a single material. Modern researchers have come close, but no one has produced an exact replica. The original ore is gone, and with it, the precise recipe that nature and human skill once combined to create. 3. Roman concrete, the material that heals itself. Why do you think the formula for the strongest building material in history was lost for nearly 2,000 years? Write your answer in the comments. Stand inside the Pantheon in Rome and look up. The dome above your head spans 43.3 meters, exactly the same as its height from the floor. It was poured from unreinforced concrete in 125 AD, nearly 1,900 years ago. No rebar, no steel reinforcement, no expansion joints, and not a single structural crack. Now consider this. Modern concrete reinforced with steel typically begins to degrade after 50 years. Many 20th century buildings are already crumbling. Roman harbors, submerged in corrosive saltwater for 2 millennia, are not only intact, they are harder than the day they were poured. In 2017, geologist Marie Jackson at the University of Utah drilled core samples from Roman marine concrete and examined them under X-ray diffraction. What she found overturned centuries of assumptions. When seawater penetrated the Roman concrete, it didn't weaken the structure. Instead, it triggered a chemical reaction with the volcanic ash in the mix, producing a rare mineral called aluminum tobermarite. This mineral grew inside the concrete over centuries, filling microscopic cracks and actually strengthening the material over time. Roman concrete heals itself. Modern concrete does not. Pliny the Elder described the ingredients: volcanic ash from Pozzuoli near Naples, lime, seawater, and volcanic rock aggregate. But the proportions, the mixing sequence, the curing conditions, all were lost when the Roman construction tradition faded in the 5th century. We know what's in it. We still can't replicate how it works at the same scale and durability. Destroyonias 4. Greek fire. The weapon that burned on water. If you're fascinated by ancient technologies that science still can't fully explain, hit the like button so more people can discover these stories. In the year 672 AD, an Arab fleet of over 30,000 men sailed toward Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire, intending to finish off the last remnant of Rome. What happened next changed naval warfare for 7 centuries. As the Arab ships closed in, Byzantine vessels extended bronze siphons from their bows and sprayed streams of liquid fire directly onto the enemy fleet. The fire burned on the surface of the water. It could not be extinguished with water. In fact, water seemed to make it burn more intensely. The Arab fleet was destroyed. Constantinople survived. And the weapon that saved it would remain the most closely guarded military secret in history for the next 800 years. The Byzantines called it liquid fire, sea fire, or simply Roman fire. History remembers it as Greek fire. The invention is traditionally attributed to Callinicus, an architect and chemist who fled from Heliopolis in Syria to Constantinople. The delivery system was sophisticated. The liquid was heated in sealed bronze containers, pressurized, and sprayed through nozzles mounted on the prows of ships, essentially a 7th century flamethrower. The formula was so secret that only the emperor and a handful of technicians knew it. According to some accounts, though historians debate this, the operators who handled the mixture were kept under permanent surveillance, and some were reportedly blinded upon retirement to prevent them from defecting with the knowledge. Modern chemists have proposed dozens of recipes: naphtha combined with quicklime, sulfur, pine resin, saltpeter, or crude petroleum derivatives. Some of these mixtures do burn on water, but none behave exactly as the historical sources describe. A fire that adhered to surfaces, could not be scraped off, burned through wood and metal, and was effectively inextinguishable except by sand, vinegar, or old urine. When Constantinople fell to the Ottomans in 1453, the formula went with it. 800 years of the most devastating naval weapon in history, erased completely, as though it had been written in the very fire it produced. The Research 5. The Ulfbert swords, industrial steel in the Viking Age. On the other side of Europe, another civilization possessed a metal that shouldn't have existed in its era. Between the 9th and 11th centuries, a particular type of sword began appearing across Scandinavia, the British Isles, and the rivers of Eastern Europe. The blade was marked with an inscription, plus Ulfbersh plus T. Over 170 of these swords have been found to date, buried in Viking graves, riverbanks, and battlefields from Norway to Ukraine. When modern metallurgists analyzed the Ulfbert blades, they found crucible steel with a carbon content of approximately 1.2% and virtually zero slag. This is steel of a quality that Europe would not be able to produce domestically until the Industrial Revolution 800 years later. In the Viking Age, European smiths worked with bloom iron, a spongy, impure material full of slag that had to be hammered out through laborious folding. The Ulfbert blades skipped this entirely. Their steel was uniform, pure, and phenomenally hard. Metallurgist Alan Williams of the Wallace Collection in London confirmed that the Ulfbert steel matches the performance characteristics of modern high-carbon steel. The blades could flex without snapping, hold a razor edge, and outperform any other weapon on the European battlefield by a margin so wide that owning one was equivalent to carrying a machine gun into a sword fight. But here's the mystery. Producing crucible steel required sustained temperatures above 1,600 degrees Celsius, roughly 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Viking-era furnaces could not reach those temperatures. The steel had to come from somewhere else. The most accepted theory traces the ingots along the Volga trade route to Central Asia, where crucible steel production, the same tradition that produced woots for Damascus blades, was well established. Viking traders exchanged furs, amber, and slaves for these steel ingots, which were then forged into swords by Scandinavian smiths who understood the metal's properties even if they couldn't produce it themselves. Around the year 1050, the Ulfbert swords disappear from the archaeological record. The timing coincides exactly with the collapse of the Volga trade routes due to political instability in Central Asia. When the supply of crucible steel dried up, the swords vanished, and the quality of European blades dropped back to the level of bloom iron for the next several centuries. We've traveled from the bottom of the Aegean Sea to the forges of Damascus, from the harbors of Constantinople to the rivers of Scandinavia. 5 inventions from 5 civilizations, each separated by centuries and continents, and every single one of them produced something that modern science, with all its instruments and budgets, still cannot fully replicate. The Greeks encoded the cosmos in 37 bronze gears with a precision that existed nowhere else on Earth for 1,400 years. Indian and Syrian smiths achieved nanotechnology with fire and hammers 1,000 years before we could even see what they had done. The Romans poured concrete that heals itself, a material property we have spent decades and millions of dollars trying to engineer from scratch. The Byzantines created a weapon so terrifying that an empire chose to destroy the formula rather than risk it falling into enemy hands. And the Vikings wielded steel that belonged to the Industrial Revolution 800 years before the first factory was built. We live in a world where artificial intelligence writes our essays and satellites guide us to the nearest coffee shop. And yet, right now, in the most advanced metallurgical labs on Earth, scientists are still trying to figure out what a medieval blacksmith did with a clay crucible and a bag of charcoal. Perhaps the lesson is not that we've surpassed the ancients. Perhaps it's that knowledge, once lost, does not come back on schedule. Progress is not a line. It is a series of peaks and cliffs, and the distance between knowing and forgetting can be as thin as a single generation that failed to write it down. What year were you born, and which country are you watching from? Write it in the comments. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and never assume the past was simpler than it looks. See you in the next one.